Mike Dirks, how are you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Fantastic. I'm pretty tickled to have you down here.
Yeah, it's been
Is
good.
this the first time I've ever had you in this hole of a basement?
I have been down here, but not since the work's been done. So it's looking good.
10-4.
Yeah.
That's
No,
interesting.
I'm impressed.
Well, don't look too close. The lighting's low, and so you don't
Oh,
see
hey,
much of what's
it's
going on. But
it's
we're
good.
we're tickled. We're
Yeah.
we're very happy with
No,
it.
that's
Even though you can see plumbing protruding from the ceiling and everything. But
no, hey, that's kind of in, eh? Like
yeah,
some of the exposed beam is actually it's actually kind of neat.
yep. 10-4. Well, look. Break the ice. What's the last book you read?
Oh boy.
Make sure you stay in his mic. Makes
The
the you can. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you about this. You can
yeah,
move this
you
thing
can
all over the place. Get it up in your grill, and then makes your
you
sound better.
actually have to physically read a book or an audio count.
Oh, anything.
I have, you know what? It has been very few and far between, but I would say the last audiobook I finished would be This Present Darkness. Have you read those books?
No, what's this present
Um
darkness?
it's there's the past and present. Boy, now you're making me think. And then This Present Darkness. I'm horrible with books and author names and
This
whatever.
past darkness. This present darkness.
There's one that's This Present Darkness, and then there's one that's like the past and present or something like that. Maybe I'm gonna have that second one wrong, but it actually deals with it is I actually highly recommend that book. It's the spirit world basically.
Oh,
What's
okay.
going on with good and evil in our everyday lives. It just happenings that are happening to you and I may think we may think they're just coincidence, and it just really sheds light on really what's going on behind the scenes on everything.
I see.
It's just interesting.
Is it harsh or is it soft? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's pretty low key. Um, like yeah, like I don't know, like as far as put an age group on it, you wouldn't want young children like they could lay at bed at night and wonder what exactly was going on.
I see.
It could maybe psych them out a little bit, but
Interesting.
it's not. Yeah, it's I will say that the author that wrote those has some pretty good insight to something there, with
Interesting.
just how that all works. But
Interesting. Well, I may have to
it
put
it,
this
it
on
it
my.
goes across different spectrums. Like the one book is largely focused on a college campus that they're trying to, I wouldn't say introduce devil worship, but it's borderline like just their tactics to try to start brainwashing college age students.
Okay, hold on. Is this a novel or is it like a?
It's a kind of an allegory or whatever
Oh,
of
okay. So it's a fiction.
yeah.
Interesting.
And then like the one like it talks about a small congregation where they hire a new pastor, and how the devil tries to get in there and wreak havoc with that whole thing. And it's he goes through like real life scenarios of, and you start putting some two and two together a little bit.
I see.
I don't know.
Very cool.
It's intriguing to me, but I have had little to no time to read, and I have always been a guy that these audiobooks I enjoy them, but I'm interrupted so often. I almost get frustrated with trying to
Oh yeah.
be start and stop, and I'm very seldom can I just turn an audiobook on and listen for a couple hours. And
See that's interesting. You bring that up because So I like to read,
yep,
but when I open a book and then I get started, and I'll just read. I'm totally enthralled in it, and then I
okay,
put it down, get busy, and come back 2 days later.
yep,
The zeal is gone, and I don't. That aggravates me.
yeah,
So it's like I wish I could just sit down and boom, put the thing all down
yeah.
in a whack, and then it.
Well, that's a little bit how I am with, like, call it what you will. I don't know, but if there's let's say 10 characters in this book, and you've kind of got figured
Yeah.
out
Oh.
what name is doing who, and what's going
Right.
on, and then you're just constantly interrupted, and you're picking back up, and finally it just gets frustrating. And
Right.
I lose interest in it just for that reason. But
Yeah, that's actually true. It takes
if I get out on the road and drive for 3 or 4 hours, I'll turn something on like that, and
yeah.
try to it'll make
Do you
sense.
do podcasts or books,
Some of
Audible
both.
book?
Yeah, I yeah, I've definitely listened to some, you know, Matt Walsh and some yeah, some different podcasts are interesting to me.
Very cool. So you're a look. Sometimes I don't know. I've heard this before, but you can tell. Some people have said the character of a person. Look at the 5 most or the top pod, podcasts they listen
Okay.
to. Anyway, we're not gonna. I don't know if I believe that. We're not gonna get into that. So,
I
but
don't know
anyway,
if I would have 5, yeah, honestly. I mean, there's times in my life I probably would have, but boy, I've just been too busy lately.
yeah. Well, look. Um, to get started, like I talked to you about before, I want to do a bit of a story on you or
Sure.
whatever. So to crack this off, I'm gonna read. I wrote an introduction, and you can fact check it as you see the fit. And I want to. I for some reason I don't like this, but I feel the need to say that I mean nothing in here offensively. Not that anything should be taken offense or could be taken offensively. I don't know, but but we'll talk about it once I get through it. So Mike Dirks, a man of many trades, farmer, electrician, log hauler, mini barn builder, and seller. These are just some of the things he's done. He's a husband, father of 4 kids, and above all, a man of God. Mike is the jack of all trades and master of some. And one of your unique gifts is your courage to dive into projects that you know little about. If you're unclear on something, you'll call until you find someone who isn't, or just figure it out as you go. You're a man of spontaneity. You talk as fast as you think. If there's any lack in management skills, you make up for it in sheer volume of movement and energy. Maybe the most remarkable thing about you is your stories of men who are even more movement than you are. A man of endless stories and thought. Mike, it's good to have you on the podcast. Today I want to ask you, among other things, how among all the other things you've done, you decided to move to South Dakota. You're welcome to begin wherever you feel is necessary. If you need to go back to your childhood, whatever gives the most context. Maybe I should first ask you: is anything that I said there erroneous?
Not really. It should be master of none, not some. But
Well,
it's
I don't.
and other than that, it's probably pretty close.
I'm willing to defend that. I would have a hard time saying that about you. You do a lot of things, and I know you're good at some of them, and so I'm whatever.
Yeah, we'll leave that where it is.
Okay, 10-4.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Everyone's got their story on, getting here, what really, yeah, where did it all start? And I don't know if I don't know if I have anything super clear. Uh, I think it's probably a slow building process of, I wouldn't say complete discontent. So, um, but maybe that plays into it. I have said, just thinking about maybe all the men that have moved here to West River, just for example. I think that there are different things that have stood out to us. Like, for one, it might be, hey, there's farming opportunity there. For the other, it might be, hey, the Black Hills are a cool area. I like the area. For another one, it's like, hey, I like the idea of a new small congregation. But I tend to say, in every single person, for the most part, that moved here, unbeknownst, probably unconsciously, God had a hand in it for some reason or another. So, is that super clear to me? Not really, but I have always liked small congregation feel, and Jamesport was not big, but somehow I had this bright idea that if, as busy as I was there, if I would move and relocate, that life might slow down a little bit, and maybe I could enjoy it a little bit more.
Yep.
And I would say that that's probably the definition of insanity, if you think that you're going to move to a new, young, small congregation and get less busy than you were. And maybe somebody's capable of doing that. I wasn't. So, before we came, I was outdoor manager at a metal shop, not massive. We were basically mainly a pole barn shouse provider of metal. And then we had a pretty good line of commercial trims going to Kansas City. And this would be shopping centers, all your big industrial building type stuff. We had a
Mm.
full line of trim line just feeding into a couple really big contractors in Kansas City. So anyway, I was kind of over deliveries, outdoor, whatever. And then let's see, dad-in-law passed away in 2013. Might have to question that a little bit now, but I think so. So we ended up, right before he passed away, we ended up being able to buy a little place, 30 acres, right beside mom-in-law's ground. And he had 2 hog confinement barns that was going to be left hanging. So I took over doing that also while I was working full time. And then I ran a few beef cows and did some haying on the side too. So life was hectic.
Did you have something you were? Did you have something you were like aiming at while you were there? Like, was there something like, when I get big, I'm going to do this? Like before the idea of moving came to your mind.
Well, so honestly, my goal, I think if you would have asked me what would I want to do, I would have probably been somehow push into more cattle and strictly do the cattle and hogs. But the way that was, we just had 230 or 40 acres there. Obviously I was young, impossible for me to buy more ground.
Yep.
Dad-in-law passing away, it was taking everything from the hog barn pretty well just to keep her mom-in-law and the family going. She still had 4 young children at home. So the idea of really expansion wasn't really an option. And so then it seemed like there wasn't just a ton of opportunity or future in what I was doing. I was getting paid good to do what I was doing, and it was fine, but just to keep doing both seemed a little overwhelming. And so what do? You let the hog barns, you tell mom-in-law, hey, I'm not doing hog barns now, and you're gonna have to figure something out and just keep doing your metal thing. Do you quit the metal deal, and then the hog barns don't pay enough to support you? And so you're a little bit in that quandary. Which so I have always thought I wanted to go further west at some point.
Oh.
And I had been looking, you can ask my wife, she pretty well would burn all of our yearbooks. She would threaten to hide them or burn them because I was always flipping through there looking for new small congregations somewhere, and I was always toying with the idea for several years already. And then I actually had Basin in my crosshairs pretty strong. And so in 2000, I think it was 2017, maybe we came 2 years in a row. Maybe it was 16 and 17, but we went to Basin, which I have an uncle and a cousin there.
Okay.
And I really do like that area a lot. But we were together with the congregation a little bit, an evening or two, and I don't know, something just didn't trip my trigger. Really. Didn't quite feel right. And then I think I'm wondering if that was in 2016. I believe it was. Possibly. We swung through here then and kind of liked the area. But then in 2017, we came here and we came through here again. And we were at Tony's place for church, and it was just Tony's. Chris's were living here, but they were not here that Sunday morning. So Tony's dad was here, and a young couple from Iroquois and Tony's and us. We had church at Tony's house.
Oh, interesting.
So we met Tony's a little bit there, and and we snooped around pretty good in 17, and then went home, and it just kept being there in the back of my mind, and didn't really see just a fantastic future in Jamesport, really. And I'm not meaning this derogatory. Some families are super close. We're not so super close. So sometimes families just like glue, and it's really hard to pull up roots and go. that's not really in my DNA, I guess. I don't need to live where my family is. I'm
Yeah.
not that close, really. Not saying we don't get along and all that. I'm just saying it's not a deal breaker for me at all. So then yeah, so we came back in July of 18 to look for a place and we could not find anything. Stayed with Brett and Ann.
So hold on a minute.
Yep.
You made a decision. Somewhere in there, you made a decision.
So yeah, we talked about it multiple times and we're like, that kind of seems like what we should do. And so that's kind of when we decided, hey, let's go look again, see if there's I had been looking for places online. Like we had pretty well somewhere along the way, and I don't know if I could take you to the exact day or time that we decided, hey, let's do this. We're doing
Do you
this.
have any? Okay, this is interesting. Do you have any little? If you had to look back, what was the thing that made you go? Something gave you a positive feeling while you were here. Do you have any idea what that was? Like, was it? Was it? I mean, this seems a little stupid, but like, was it scenery? Was it the Black Hills? Was it the people? Was it what? The
Yeah,
enormous amounts of junk piles everywhere. Oh,
well,
sorry. About
yeah.
this.
I mean, well, no, I came from Jamesport, so that wasn't a shock. We have
they
them there
got
too.
junk piles too. That's funny.
But so I don't know if I can lay my finger on it exactly, but I think it's a combination of all of the above. And so we do like the area. We did like the people that we were around here. It felt good. And again, I'm not. This is not saying we're right and Basin was wrong, but it felt different than Basin.
I see. So you just
Something did not settle
I
at
see.
Basin like it did here.
So it was. I see. So it's just like almost everything you found yourself sort of in line with everything.
Yep.
Like
it just something
vibe
something just felt more settled here than Basin. But can you put a clear dot on it? I don't know if you can. I mean, what that is or why that was, I don't know if I can say.
Well, there you go. 10-4. So you made a decision to come. Finally, you said, "Well, do it," and then so you started come looking around.
Yeah.
For
So
stuff for sale.
me and my wife came for about a week, stayed at Brent and Ann's, and we looked at all kinds of stuff. And like I said, we looked at Dwayne's.
Okay, what were you looking for?
Pretty much anything. Like I was
just something for sale.
I was trying to find a farm.
Okay.
Acreage of sorts.
Okay.
I didn't feel like I could afford that much, but I actually was dickering on Dwayne's farm for a while with a realtor.
Okay.
And I did not think that the price they were asking then it was even worth that. I just went round and around with her and I just didn't think it was worth that. And look at hindsight. Look at what everything was. I thought stuff was high.
Right.
Everything seemed kind of a little bit ridiculous, and then looking back, it was cheap. I should have bought them all.
Yeah,
got a bunch of investors to believe in me and bought it all. But so Dwayne's place, we looked at multiple places, and then because we were wanting something. The other thing is by somewhere in there, I actually got a call at work from an Old Hickory personnel. This was another.
Hold on, randomly.
So I have to back up just a little bit.
Yeah, you do.
Literally out of the blue, I got a call from an Old Hickory personnel and said that they had heard that I was possibly moving there and they were wanting a shop.
No shot.
Because one of your hugest factors is to move is what am I going to do for a job? So I need to back up and connect that just a little bit because I was wanting to go, but that was still a real issue of what am I going to do? And that's not something that I was really even entertaining or, I had been looking about, well, what are you going to have to make a living on hay or, I was looking down those avenues a little bit and I got a call out of the blue from an Old Hickory personnel. And
how do you think they heard about this?
So somebody had been through here and talked to Tony or Chris. And I actually do not know too many details from there. Somehow they gave them my number or somehow they got a hold of my number.
How? That's fascinating. Okay. Anyway.
And so they're like, hey, would you be interested in running a shop, an Old Hickory shop over here somewhere if you're moving? You're like, well, now that starts addressing a little bit the livelihood side of things.
Yep.
So
The puzzle pieces are beginning to fall into place.
we pondered that for a while, and I looked into it a little bit, talked to some other guys that are doing it, and we're like, well, so I guess to connect some of that, that is another reason that. So I started figuring out that this shop's probably going to be over by Bell somewhere. It just makes sense a lot more there than it does over by Newell.
Right.
So then I started looking at like Dwayne's place, for example, and Bell, and I'm like, that's a good little commute. But really, anything was on the table, right? There was multiple houses for sale in Newell. We're like, let's go see. So then we're like, okay, this job thing is real. They're wanting us to get over there and get something started. So now it's like the next step is, well, we got to find somewhere to live. So then we came here in July of 18, sorry. July of 18 we came. And we looked at every dump in Newell and walk away shaking our heads, which was ironic. A realtor actually told us, she said, I'll go show them to you. But she said, there's no point. She literally told us that. She said, they're just junk.
She already knew.
She said the basements are junk in every house in Newell. She said, they're just junk. She said, I'll go show them to you. But she said, you're not going to be happy with them.
Yeah.
So we drove around and we looked at all kinds of places. I don't know where all we looked. We looked at that lodge up on Stone Lake for a while. There's kind of a big modular sitting up on the hill. Okay. Absolutely love the views still to this day, but it was just a modular bobbed up on a hill for way too much money to really make sense.
Oh yeah, okay, I know where that place is. Yeah.
And so I don't know, we were here for, like I said, I say a week. It may have not been quite, but it was close. And we're just spinning out on everything. And so we went back to Brent's the evening before we were going to leave, and we're like, I guess we're going home, and we're going to regroup because I don't know. We literally just couldn't make sense of anything. And also, a realtor called me. She said, hey, there's a house in Nisland that just hit the market, and she says it's cheap for what it is. She said it's under the money.
I see.
She's like, she says it's to the point it'll sell tomorrow.
Oh boy.
And she's like, if you're interested, you need to meet me there at 8:00 tomorrow morning sharp. And if you're not interested, I understand. But she said, you need to meet me at 8:00. So we met her there at 8:00, made an offer on it. And she literally had to take the listing down by noon or something because she was getting so many calls on it. But we bought the place we were in. We're like, it's somewhere to come. And then we'll live here for a year till we find something else. There you go. We're still there.
So that story is so miserably common. It's not funny.
So anyway, that's what happened.
Since 20. All right, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. So since 2018 till now, which is 7 years.
7.5 years.
And you're getting ready to move out. We'll get there yet. So anyway, so when did you move then finally?
That next month, actually.
1 month. See, that's the thing, son. You are one quick mover. You don't mess around.
So now you're making me second guess that. Did we come? So it might have been actually just a little bit earlier. So we looked at that house and we went home. We must have been here it must have been June or something. And we came back. We brought a load with us and closed in the middle of July somewhere. Okay. It wasn't much more than just 30 days later. So I think it was the middle of July. We came back and brought some stuff with us and closed. Quick put it in the house and went back to Jamesport, and we moved here rally weekend, 1st of August.
You did?
Yep. 1 week before Shannon's got here. So
interesting. So okay, tell me about the conversation with getting out of the. Okay, you just left. What happened to the pigs and the cows?
So that's kind of another ironic point is. I got to just give you a little insight of Boyd and Julie Harrison, a middle-aged couple that was right next to us, took a love to us and our little family and whatever. And she was always stopping and we'd yak or whatever. And she ironically, she was mowing the ditch right by my corral. And I was out there working some cows or doing calves or something. And she stopped there and she's like, you're leaving, aren't you? Out of the blue, mind you.
No shot. So she'd heard nothing.
We had not mentioned it. She knew that I felt a little bit overloaded, overworked, but she honestly, out of the blue, she looked at me and she said, you're gone, aren't you?
You must have looked happy or something.
And so it actually took me back pretty serious. And so I filled her in a little bit of what our thought was, and she said, "Yeah, I knew it." She said, "Leave that where it is." But anyway, so I ended up asking her, "Would you be interested in this 30 acres if we were going to sell it?" And she said, "Absolutely." She said, "Let me go talk to my banker." But she said, "Yeah." She said, "What do you want for it?" And I just shot her a price kind of right off the top of my head. It wasn't high. Wasn't, in hindsight, I could have probably got more, but they were just tremendously good
Oh yeah.
neighbors. And she got back with me about a week later. And so there's another little piece of the puzzle. It's like, well, to move, you need to kind of sell our place, right? So
Yeah.
there went that. I sold out my cows. I actually had an auction, so it's pretty sad if at 34 you have enough junk to have an auction. But we actually had an auction, so I did not sell my cows that way. I took them. I had a herd dispersal, just sold that out, but they did not do well. But that is what it is. And then machinery wise and a bunch of stuff, we actually had an auction and sold everything out.
I see.
Had a couple tractors and just some little bit of machinery and greenhouse. And so I knew that at that point what house we were coming to here in Nisland, and I knew that I did not have much storage. So I have regretted a few things that I sold, but I pretty well cleaned house. Like, I did not bring that much with us just because I knew we didn't have a lot of places to go with it for right now. And so we had an auction and sold out. And then obviously at some point we were over at Mom and Law's with Bart's, and we hit them with the thought that we're probably leaving and that something's going to have to be done with the hog barn. So just a real quick deal on that is we had switched hog programs probably a year and a half prior to it, and I had really thrown a fit about it, and we negotiated back and forth with Smithfield Farms trying to make sure that they were wanting us to do a nursery program. We had been in a breeding gilt program where we took them from 12 to 240 or 260, and now they were wanting us to take them from nursery to 12 pounds, a couple days old to 12 pounds, and it required quite a bit of work. And I just told them, look, we can't do that from this standpoint that I work full time. Mom-in-law is living on this. She can't be out here doing it. I can't be out here doing it and it make enough money for both families.
Right, right.
So they offered to send a guy out there full time out of the company, a company man. So that ended up actually taking a lot of work out of the hog barns. We ran that way for almost a year. I tried going through the hog barns fairly thoroughly. Obviously, they're hog barns. There's a lot that can go wrong, but I did change a lot of older motors, a lot of fan belts, a lot of, we changed. I tried to go through them stuff pretty good, and we got stuff. Seemed to be working fairly well. So then Brandon and Bart had to step in a little bit, and they kind of took over for a while, but obviously started negotiations to sell the farm relatively quick. And at that point, obviously we'd paid the hog barns down a good bit further, and the farm had actually went up in value a lot from where we were. Let's say the conversation we were having when Dad-in-law passed away.
So, I see. So getting out of the work with the hog barns didn't end up being much of a.
Obviously I don't know what some of the feelings were behind my back, but I didn't detect any that it threw any big ripples in the whole scheme of things. So
10-4. So July or August, you got yourself moved here.
Yep.
Okay, then then what? What was the process of getting started with Old Hickory? I'm assuming you told them yes.
Yeah. And so I had kind of agreed, but it was a little bit contingent yet. So it was actually a very frustrating deal after we moved here, because I moved here, like I said, in July. They had not found any property at that point. They were kind of wanting me to come out here and find a property.
Oh.
So I actually was looking at stuff. I actually found the property where we currently are, and I let them know about it, submitted it to them, and obviously it takes a good while. I don't remember, probably a couple of weeks for them to even fly out here. And then there ended up being some covenants on that property that Old Hickory wanted nothing to do with. They wanted it 100% clean, free of covenants. And so it ended up being a very long process. So we were here in August. And we did not close and able to start working at renovating that shop that was there till the following March.
Oh, wow.
So I came here with a family and no income.
Right.
So Troy was needing chopper help. I had already known that, and I had committed to driving truck for him for that first fall. So that's what I did. And then obviously when we very first got here, we had just purchased school, and some of the first ones are probably the only ones that know what an absolute heap that place was when we bought it. But me and Chet's dad, obviously we had work nights there galore. A lot of us men spent a lot of time, but during the days, me and Chet's dad, Daryl, spent almost countless days there working at school just because I had nothing else to do. So I was just there, pretending like I was happy to donate my time to renovate a school. So yeah.
Funny. So this Old Hickory thing, when this came up, did you think, look, this is a forever job. This is a career. I'm into this. Or did you think was this more of a stepping stone to get you over here to figure out what you were going to do?
Yeah, I've really probably never looked at it as a super long-term deal. But then also after I've gotten into it now, and even I would say even a couple years ago, maybe even still, I'm always looking at other options, but I also realize that when I look back and the sheer amount of absolute sweat, blood, and tears that it took to get this place even where it is, it's you realize that it's actually kind of going to be a little bit difficult to just slam the door on this deal and start something all over again. So, like it or love it, probably recently here I have almost become in the mindset that I maybe need to ride this deal out a little bit longer than what I'd originally planned. And that's always negotiable, but
Is there, but you don't really have any kind of, like, you're okay with that? You don't have any sort of resentment about this?
Well, so my big deal is I'm getting more and more all the time that I don't like physical work, right? And I've gotten to the point where I don't actually do much physical work, and now I'm realizing that I actually need to do more physical work than I do because I'm out of shape and I'm
beginning to swell.
I should be in way better shape at my age than I am, probably. So, but so I've kind of got the, I'm in the office a lot, and so that's not terrible. I don't just love it, but it's not the worst, definitely.
Gotcha. Interesting. So, you got yourself into, and so that the Old Hickory thing sort of got you on your feet in South Dakota. But since then, you done a lot. Like, for example, so you moved here sort of with a little church, and the little church bought a school, so for teaching the kids.
Yep.
And then you ended up hugely involved in basically fixing up a church and fixing up a school, right?
Yeah, I did end up putting quite a bit of time in there. Yep.
So anyway, so you did all that. Did you have any construction experience before that, or you just?
Well, that's the hypocritical side of me that I have somehow pulled the wool over everybody's eyes, and everyone thinks I'm a construction guy. If you knew the extent of my construction knowledge before I moved here, it was almost zilch. So everything that I have done here, or honestly, almost everything, I have literally figured it out myself, or knowing somebody or found somebody that knew a little bit what they were doing, or literally by trial and error. And I have made a crud ton of mistakes. So
yeah, well, the thing is though, I'm a bit of an admirer of the idea of being a generalist, like being able to do a man of many things. I mean, even if you're a person, a person who's single-minded in the way of a career,
yeah,
it's still, there's something about being a generalist, like being able to do many things, even if your career isn't about doing many things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's sort of what it takes, is just to dive in to stuff you don't know anything about. And it's a little difficult sometimes.
Yeah. So that first fall that we were here, I ended up obviously working at church and school a bunch. Troy's needed. Their basement got flooded. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah.
shortly after we moved here, a bunch of damage, and some of that got fixed with some volunteer help. But then, they actually conned me into completely putting in their basement bathroom, and I don't think they had a clue at the time how clueless I was about. Like I had never touched a bathroom remodel in any way, shape, or form. I don't know how they feel to this day. I feel like it turned out fairly well, but like I was shooting from the hip. Big time.
So okay, why did you say? I know this thing might seem like a crazy question, and your answer may be, well, it's obvious, but it isn't obvious to me. Why did you say yes to this stuff?
Because I
You
had
could have said no.
yeah, but like try being here with a family and 4 little kids and no source of income at all.
Oh.
Like literally, I don't know if I was going to tell you a dollar figure. I don't know what it would be, but I'll just tell you from August of 2018 till August of 2019, we went backwards a long, long ways.
Yeah, right.
I had myself a pretty good hole to dig back
yeah,
out
but
of.
you weren't getting paid to do the church stuff. Or were
No,
you doing
that wasn't.
You're
No.
doing that to sort of medicate because you couldn't
Well,
sit
it's
around.
just I mean, yeah, exactly. I was here and I was available and I didn't need to be anywhere. So I actually worked at Bell Livestock 1 day a week.
Oh, you did.
So that was it. I had $100 a week or whatever it was that they paid. So I had that, and then yeah, I did a little bit of wiring in Chris's loafing shed, and I put a garage door in. Before I was a garage door dealer, I put it in Troy's shop. It was a horrible door on the end. I did some rewiring in his shop. It was all stuff was sparking and getting shocked, and I did some rewiring in there. I put his bathroom in down there. I drove semi for the first fall that I was here. Just anything, absolutely anything.
Boy, that's crazy.
So
I see. So yeah, that makes
And-
makes sense to me. That you got involved in all that from the standpoint just trying to sort of like pay a couple of the bills.
sure. And I ironically, I look back and I would love to go back to that. There's something about that was absolutely, there was just nothing. Like I had basically no debt. I mean, that kind of started going the other direction on us after you only have income for so long, but you needed so little income right then. It was just we were just living, and it was just like you get up in the morning, there was no pressure to go and do anything. Like obviously it's not sustainable, but it was actually some half decent times.
That actually, yes, I've talked about. I think I've even talked about this on here before. But I go back to before I bought my farm.
Mm-hmm.
Had I to make that decision now, it would be much, much more difficult than it was then because it's like I didn't have anything to lose back then.
Yeah.
Now I've got stuff so the opportunities come to me since then to maybe bite off more.
Yep.
But I'm just like, I've just got too much to lose now, and it's do I really? But that's how it feels,
There's a part that frustrates me is I can almost convince myself to kind of jump in this Dave Ramsey thing and just drive to somewhat older paid for vehicles and live in my house in Nisland for the rest of my life and retire at 55. I almost entertain something like that, and then it's just impossible for me to entertain. I'm just wired different than that. I can't stand it.
There's no adventure in it. Well, I shouldn't say that.
I don't know why that is, and I think my wife would be probably happier if I was a little more that way, but I just can't find it in myself. I don't know why, but
here's a funny thing that happened to me this morning. So, but this conversation isn't about me, but I got to tell you this anyway because it's come to me. So this morning, I was supposed to be. Jeremy messaged me last night and he said, "Let's meet at the office at sometime this morning, whatever, 8:30, I think. We're going to have a meeting at 8:30." Well, the night before, I had the pickup in the shop, and it was undrivable. I thought, well, that's no problem. I'll just quick take the car into runnings in the morning, get stuff, come back, put it back together, go to work. And then, I mean, no problem. Well, then I get a message from Jeremy. We got to meet at 8:30. Oh, boy. I got to be at runnings at 7:30 in the morning, get the stuff, get back here, get that thing fixed. In 15 minutes, mind you.
Yeah. Get all the way to Vail.
and then I got to be to work because it's 30 minutes to work, and then I'll barely be in time. There's no way. And I thought, oh, here's a safer option. What I'll do, I'll just take the car to work, go for the meeting, be there, and then in the evening when I get done, go to town, get stuff, come back, fix the pickup. And I thought, what's the adventure in that? So I got out there, went to town. I decided, well, I'm gonna do the hard stuff, and so then I went to town, got the stuff, came back here. It was like 5 degrees in the shop, and I'm in there, bare hands, working on the thing. And you get it's hard, but there's something about it. I was proud of myself that I did it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes taking the road that's harder, like that seems almost irresponsible in one way.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But there's something like exhilarating about it.
Yeah.
I think when I talked to Chris, I realized that there's something. I have let that go in my life from when I was a younger man.
Sure.
And that's some spice I've lost. So that's why when I look at people like you, like, you do a lot of stuff, man. And I see that, and I think there was a time when I was more that way. Yeah. And I think there's something to that. I don't know. I can't hardly even explain it.
I'm not gonna sit here on any of this stuff and say that it's all positive, because it's not. But I don't function well. So I think, my wife, probably others, think that I am completely overstressed, and I probably am. But I think twice as clear when my plate is completely loaded as I do. If you want to see a guy spin out, just get me where I'm completely slow with nothing going on, and I just spin out, literally. I have noticed that, like, even if I will function clearer with 3 jobs going than I will with 1. If I would have guys on 3 jobs, 3 projects going on, I will forget half the stuff that I will if I got 2 guys on 1 job.
Why? Will your mind just go on stuff that doesn't matter?
I guess. I don't know what it is. And like I said, it's not necessarily a positive, but that's literally the way it is. Like, and even just my drive, like, people think I have such a drive, and I maybe I do, I don't know, but like I'm actually, I think, quite lazy. And if I don't keep myself pressed to the wheel, I turn into a bum. Like, I could. And I see that tendency big time. Like, if I don't have a fire, if I don't have the wolves nipping at me a little bit, so in some ways that's kind of a tiring lifestyle, I suppose. But
what do you mean? Well, yeah, if you're happy with it, but what do you mean by bum? Like, if you only had, okay, we didn't finish the story. We'll have to cover this, because you're doing a lot of things.
Yeah,
like, you have a lot of different things going on, as far as like different. So you're doing the mini barns, and you're doing garage doors, and you're doing windows, and you're building a house, and pole barns, and I don't know what. But anyway, it's a lot of stuff. You're spread thin that way. Now, some people focus in on just one thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you just focus on one thing, obviously you're a more cognitively occupied person. So what would happen if you did that? Like, you say you'd be a bum, but like, if you just, like, there's people who do that.
Yeah. So, but like, it would be fine if that one thing kept me running. But if that one thing doesn't take up a huge portion of my time, I don't find myself super productive with free time. Does that make sense?
So if
I just say I have just an 8 to 5 job, I actually really start spinning out.
Are you saying if you only had one job, you'd end up not even showing up to that job?
Well, I mean, I would be there, but like, I honestly would. Yeah, I just get into way more of a slump.
Like in your
just mind wise, just all around.
So it's more okay. So the bum is something like that's more here. Like, it's something you just start to feel like. Oh,
it's not like I'm not I'm not the guy. Like I grew up on Wisconsin dairy. I mean, they say that's a thing, right? Like if you grow up on a dairy, you're never getting that out of you. I've had a lot of people tell you, like if you were getting up at 4:30 as a, sixth grader, you're probably never going to be that guy that just doesn't show up for work or that
Yeah.
he's showing up late, but it's probably more in the mindset or whatever that you turn into a bum, or you're
Yeah.
not doing everything you're capable of doing. Let's put it that way.
So do you feel like there's okay? I described there's some dudes who just have a very focused career and they somehow they occupy themselves in one career, one focus.
Yep.
Then there are other people like yourself who are much broader, and like a very well known example of this is like Elon Musk. He's
Yep.
doing all sorts of things at once.
Yep.
Do you feel like everything that you're doing is aiming at? Is there one thing that it's sort of aiming at, or not really? Or is it just for
Well,
the sake of staying busy?
Well, it's a little bit. It's not been at all out of my control. So a few points on that. I just had somebody tell me recently here again that he thought I would do better if I just focused on one thing.
Oh,
So, and like whatever, not maybe in exactly those words, but like if I really focused on one of my businesses, would that thing really flourish? Well, so there's a couple points to that. I don't think it's a cut and dried answer. I think a lot of people think it is. So there was a younger couple. I don't know if you remember this, several years ago, that were thinking about moving here.
okay.
And he actually did not know me from Adam, but he started messaging me about what I thought opportunities were out here and this and that. And we went back and forth for a while. And then I was telling him what all I was doing, and he actually had, I call it, he had the gall. Maybe more people need to tell me that, and I'm wide open to that. He actually told me, he's like, you're never going to be good at anything you do if you keep trying to do all these things that you're doing.
Mm.
He's like, you have to pick one thing and get good at it. That's what you do with a career. I agree to a point. I
Oh,
agree
yeah.
to a
Yeah.
point. So, but let's. I do think it does depend on your temperament, personality a little bit. I think that is a factor, possibly. Let's take my mini barn business for example. That is my biggest, stablest
Yep.
thing that I have going on. I don't actually have very much control of that business at all.
Oh,
So I am the territory manager now for my territory for the
yep.
time being. In that position, I have potential to make a difference. But as a shop manager and a sales lot, I actually can do very little about focusing and expanding my business. Okay. I build barns for dealers that sell sheds across a very big area.
Okay.
If those dealers do not sell sheds, if there's not a territory manager out there beating the bushes, keeping people's feet held to the fire, setting a good presence of Old Hickory sheds in the entire territory, dealing with fires, making unhappy people happy again, I'm limited on what the orders that are going to come into my shop.
Right.
I can't sit there and just build 100 sheds out of my shop a month. I do that 1 month and we are overloaded and I'm getting phone calls from home office.
Right.
So to tell me that I can focus on one thing and blow it out of the water, it's not true.
In that particular thing.
Now, you can take your Rinky irrigation business. That is much more true in a business like that. You can take that thing, and there's probably even that might have its limitations. It's like it's not a huge valley. You might have some
Yeah.
limitations in it. But you can take another business, and you could say I'm pouring myself into this thing, and probably the sky's the limit. But my mini barn shop is my main business, and that is not true in that
Yeah.
business.
Well, okay. Yeah. See, that's sort of a franchise thing.
That's
So
right.
there's not whatever like with.
Well, and it's just it's a multi-legged stool, and you are only one of the legs.
Yeah.
And so you can do what you want, but you really don't have a lot of control. And that's been a little bit my biggest bone to pick with it all. Probably is I honestly can't control a whole lot.
Yeah.
I can turn out good quality barns. I can personally sell a lot of sheds, but that's pretty where my role stops.
This is interesting. So if Old Hickory went away tomorrow,
Yep.
do you have any sense of what you do?
You know, I have entertained those thoughts, but I have not come to a concrete answer. I think there would be a lot of options on the table for me. In some ways, it would be almost it'd be almost good. And I might radically go a different direction. I don't know. I really don't know. To say that I would take my other business or two and try to push those, I'm
Yeah.
not saying I wouldn't, but I honestly don't love them enough to want to go through the absolute sweat, blood, and tears that it takes to get a business up and going from scratch. Necessarily.
Okay. Do you okay. Do you ever wish that you had a job where, okay, so you gave let's rank the Bell Valley Irrigation, for example. So we sell Ranky systems, but we're not a franchise, if that makes
Right.
sense, as far as what we are. Now, some people treat it like that, but so we can expand what we offer.
Yep.
So it is sort of completely in the control of the business. You can sort of grow it to whatever,
Sure.
mold it to whatever you want. Is there any part of you that wishes you were in something like that so that you could make and mold and whatever you wanted? Like, I guess my question is like the fact that you're so limited with this old hickory thing, is that what has pushed you into sort of these other things? It's like, I'm against the walls here. And so then it just kind of spilled out into like siding, roofing, windows,
Yeah.
all this other stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't ever make much money on this other stuff, but I never turn down the opportunity to make a little bit of side money, right? And
Right.
so then again, this whole idea of running multiple things, I think there's yet another facet or finger to this thing is that it depends on what your extra businesses are or what types of two businesses you were trying to run. If I was trying to run Old Hickory Buildings and I was trying to run a floor waxing company, I see a
Conflict.
difference. I see a way more of a conflict than what I'm doing. So let's take Jay for instance. So if I have none of these other side deals going on, and all of a sudden I have a repair or a build on site come up in my Old Hickory Buildings, who do I send on that exactly? And yes, I can always shuffle guys around and whatever, but like I'm pulling guys out of the shop, and I do that anyway. Or you can say, I'm keeping Jay busy 20% of the time with the Old Hickory shop. And now if I take on some side garage doors and some side windows and doors, I keep him busy full time. But when I need him to spill over into this area a little bit, I have the guy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not trying to find a guy just off the street for this deal here, and I don't have anywhere for him to go the rest of the time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so some of this stuff that I'm doing on the side, yes, it's making me run an extra guy or two, but I'm also being able to pull those guys and use them in multiple different situations where it does blend and flow a little bit on everything. So
yeah.
But as far as your question of starting something and pushing it, yeah, that has an appeal to me. I like turning a big wheel in some ways, like not a big wheel like I want to make tons of money and all that. Again, I just seem to operate better if there's plenty going on.
You're busy.
If I'm busy. So that part of it doesn't really bother me, but then the last year and a half here has almost taken me over the edge. Like I'm to the point where I am tired of writing massive payrolls out every 2 weeks and having all the stress of 10 guys working for you.
Yeah.
And I actually would think it would be quite amazing to be, hey, me and one other good guy, let's go do something and let's see what we can do. But it is a question to me, if I was in that shoes, would I miss would that satisfy me? I don't know.
Tell me about when you were in Missouri, were you
Sure.
working just by yourself?
No, I would have been. So at the metal shop there would have maybe been a total of, I don't know. There would have been maybe 3 or 4 office personnel, 2 or 3 guys in the trim shops and maybe 3 guys outside.
Were you managing all of these people?
Nope. So I was really the only guys that answered to me was about 2 or 3 outside guys. 3 outside guys, really. There's
So-
about 4 of us.
Okay, so you were okay. Oh, so there you were running 2 or 3 guys, or managing. And then what about the haul? Was the haul? How about the rest of the stuff? Was that
Yeah,
just you?
that was just me. Yep.
Did that keep you stretched thin enough?
Yeah. Well, at that point, I honestly felt I was stretched a little too thin. But I still feel that way right now. I really feel that way right now. But where I'm really lacking right now is I haven't been able to figure out how the money side of it's going to work. But I really need an office personnel. That's what I really need. It is literally impossible for me to run everything that I'm doing and keeping all my paperwork headed in the straight and narrow.
Yeah, that's a
bugger for me right now.
well, means that's what my job is. I know.
So-
I'm aware.
So
It's even difficult when
my
you just
question, the battle that I go back and forth is like, well, if I hire somebody, it's a real possibility that if I would train them good on the sales side of things too, because obviously whoever's doing the bookwork needs to be doing sales also.
Yep.
It's very easy to do both. So if my sales would increase a good bit, it takes away some of the question of how is this extra person getting paid for. But if sales don't go up by a good margin, because there's a lot of things I'm honestly pretty mediocre at, but I can sell somebody something.
Yep.
If somebody comes into my office, if I cross paths with something, I can sell them a mini barn.
Yeah.
That is something I definitely can get accomplished. So if sales don't take a nice hike up, then I'm back to kind of, well, what am I doing? So
Yeah. 10-4. So look, they ain't neither of us getting any younger.
that's
In
right.
10 years, you're not. And where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you see yourself? Yeah. I don't know. What if you set a goal for 10 years? Where would you like to be? Do you still think you'll want to be just run close to too thin then as well?
Yeah, no, I don't. I definitely don't see myself still doing mini barns in 10 years. I don't see that at all. There was a little bit of thought with this windows and doors things. There's actually potential for some pretty good money in there, but it's also an interesting business, and I just will admit that I have not really sold my soul on the whole thing yet. But the idea behind that a little bit is so here's my mini barn business, and here is this pitiful window and door business, and if the gap right now is just too massive to jump. Like I'm not just selling out of this to basically not be able to make a living doing this. So that's a little bit why I feel spread thin a little bit. We're trying to maybe build this up a little bit closer to this, and the jump across isn't going to be quite as devastating. And then possibly be willing to do that. But I am second guessing that all right now a little bit. But like something like that has the potential within 10 years, I might still be selling or closing windows and door deals, but I don't have to be doing that much. And if you have some installers out there, whatever, you're making your sales commission and you're not doing anything. But on the flip side, there's nothing easier than selling mini barns. I'm telling you. Like honestly, if you could just sit at a really good lot and sell mini barns, it's probably one of the easiest ways to make money I know of.
Good money?
I mean,
Depends what good money is.
if I not, there's better things, but if I would push myself, you could do $100,000.
So it would be like okay, that's interesting. Maybe that'd be a really good job for like an up and coming young fella who wanted to to try out the sales thing. Like there seems to be a more of a movement nowadays.
I mean,
these guys want to try sales.
There's definitely a push. Like it's not hard to hit that 70 mark, but then it's going to take a good push, and you have to be in the right area, and you have to be the right guy. Like I'm not saying I am, but like part of the thing that I'm cheating on my sales. Okay. So I have a massive array of sheds at my shop. That helps me.
Yeah.
I know everything about the barns.
And you can build whatever you need to immediately.
So if you go to one of my dealers, there may be construction type questions that they can't answer very knowledgeably where I can, and so I got an edge on them. So that's normally you would never sell
800 to a million out of a place like Belfou. Should be literally impossible. But I'm not saying it is impossible. I've come scarily close a few years. So
I see. Um, in the economy that we're in right now, is there, which I don't even know what I'm saying when I say that, but like is where are barn sales right now?
Well,
High, low, medium?
the sales cycle for last month, and I'm saying my territory now because I have numbers to that. Being I'm a TM, I can see all that. But our sales numbers for this last sales cycle for last year was 60 grand for the entire territory.
Hold on, say that again.
It was just 60,000 for the entire territory
For how much time?
for 1 month.
That seems low.
Well, it is, but it's also winter. It's not super out of line from what some other years have been.
Yeah,
It was a little bit lower.
But it's a mild winter, dude.
No, last year. I'm saying last year.
Oh.
This winter, we did 200.
Oh,
So
up
we
comparatively.
tripled.
Fair enough.
So I would like to take a little bit of glory for that, but I realize that it wasn't strictly the TM that made the difference. So we've got probably a more consistent driver. I don't know, not a better driver, but like he's more caught up.
Yeah.
Our delivery times are down.
So
that helps. Milder winter helps a little bit.
Yeah.
It all helps.
have you ever had any sort of did you ever have any regret about moving here? Like, do you ever was like, oh, this is too much. I should have never moved here. I should have just stayed there.
No, I really haven't. I look back at Missouri and I'm like, and now I look back and I'm like, I wonder where I could have been there. If I'd have just stayed there, where would I be by now? Like I might have 300 acres and 100 head of cattle, and like, what an idiot. Why did you move?
Oh yeah.
But really, I don't like, if you gave me the option to move back tomorrow or stay here, I wouldn't even consider moving back.
Yeah. So how old were you when you moved?
Well, it would have been 34.
So if you had to give 34-year-old you advice right before moving, what would it be? Now being on this side of it.
Well, I don't know. I really don't know if I would have I don't know if I have a lot of wisdom other than like, you really, really honestly, it's going to cost you more, and it's going to take longer to get your feet back under than what you think. It just will.
Oh yeah.
So
And just relax.
So relax and don't set the bar too high, probably. Because
Interesting.
you think you can have stuff like that planned out, and it is just going to cost you more. Just it's easy to look at, well, it's going to cost X amount to get our stuff moved there and for this and for this and for that, but that doesn't there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. 10-4.
And 34, it just depends. I think there's a pretty broad range on what ages are your children. Expect to, if your children are just a little bit older, it does go through a bit of a hiccup for them.
Yeah.
Your wives, like, it's harder on them than it is on us. So keep that in mind.
Yep. Well, listen, let's take a short break
Sure.
and then we'll talk about your family
Sure.
when we come back. All righty. We're back from the break. So listen, talking about your family. So how many kids did you have when you moved here?
We had all four.
Oh, so I see. So you had all four of them.
Yep.
Interesting. See, that would have added dynamic. See, I've been thinking about family in relation to people relocating
Sure.
quite substantially. Like, so for me, it was just Lana and I.
Right.
So that you just,
Yeah.
and I didn't really have my feet stuck anywhere, so it wasn't that difficult
Sure.
to move. Then there's people like you where you've got a very young family. Like, I think, how old was your little guy?
It's like 5, I think. 4 or 5. Yeah, 4 or 5.
And then so there's that, and so that to me strikes me as challenging. And then there's people like my dad.
Yep. With
You
youth
know,
age or
it's like he, frankly, had a lot going for him when he left. And that would see, I want to have I want to have some of these old guys who I want to talk to some of these old guys who made this move. Like that would be very difficult to do.
yeah, it would.
Why would I mean I hate to say it like this, but why would you do that? I'm eternally grateful that my
Yeah.
dad moved here. Like I think if I can't speak for the rest of the family, but for me, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me that dad got us as a family together and said, shall we move? Like
Yep.
we toyed with the idea for
Sure.
a long time. Really, it's like got just plain old itchy feet. Like we like to travel.
Yeah.
Dad, my grandpa likes to travel.
Yeah.
My dad
Yep.
likes traveling. So, but anyway, so yeah, I'm very grateful that he did. But from his standpoint, he had something going. He was making money. He
Yeah.
had a place in the world there, in more ways than one. And then it was like the kid came alive in him. Let's move. And he got the light in his eyes every time we talked about it. But it's just that would be so difficult. And maybe I need to get Dad on here, but maybe if he had to redo it, I wonder what his advice would be to himself when he moved.
I didn't finish my thought earlier.
Oh, good.
But when I said that there's a conscious or unconscious something in probably everybody that moved.
Oh, yeah.
My theory is, and this is a theory, anybody can shoot it down, but a real question to me is no matter what kind of hell or high water we've been through here since we've got here, I am convinced that everyone that probably pulls up stakes and does this at the end of life had more growth than where they were going to stay. I tend to think that there's a reason that the Lord uproots who he uproots and sends around. I'm not saying that there isn't people that just literally move for the lucrative side of things or for to literally be close to a kid or a family member or whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But I tend to think in a situation like ours, no matter how it looks to the human eye, the Lord says, you ain't going to have enough trial or tribulation where you're at to grow enough to where I want you to be.
I actually don't have a problem with that at all from the standpoint that the things we face make us who we are.
Yeah.
And if you move to a different place, you face different things. And often a move like that is more difficult than staying. And difficulty, diamonds are made out of extreme pressure.
That's right.
And the good Lord knows it too.
Yeah. Well, I just even think about, there's one thing that we talk about in just the old Hickory system. When you go into a town, you set a dealer up, people are very habitual creatures. So if you get into a town of any size, them people kind of tend to drive the same roads as far as this is the coffee shop that they go to. This tends to be the restaurants they eat at. This is the Walmart they go to.
Yep.
This is where they go. This is the school they go to. So this is where they go. And all of a sudden you move and it's right in town. It's same town. And all of a sudden they're like, how long has this been here? You see it. You see a different side of the town. You see people are habitual. And I guess that's a little bit my point is we get that way. You live here. And for example, in Missouri, you just have this deal. I'm sure you have the same thing, maybe even a little bit here, because you've got some family here. It's like Saturday nights, you go to folks for, hamburgers or for supper. And it's just this thing that you always do.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the same people that you always hang out with. And now all of a sudden you're into a new congregation. You've got to learn to know people, and you have to get completely wide smack open out of your comfort zone. And stretch your
Oh
wings.
man, new church, new community, new way of new career,
Everything. I mean, it's just,
everything.
and it's like, it's not pleasant in the moment, maybe, but it can't be overall bad.
No, yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think it's. I don't think it's bad at all. I mean, it feels bad,
Right.
Um, but anyway, so here's another here. So this is a little bit. This is a little bit of a deviation from um, talking about moving, but there's one thing I'm fascinated about you is that your kids are fascinating to me. I like your kids, so I only know I obviously know the two oldest ones best,
Sure.
but your kids strike me as all very different, and so you apparently somehow or the other, whether it was by accident or on purpose or whatever, you managed to cultivate who they are rather than what you wanted them to be. I mean, look, I know that I don't know this. I know it, but I don't understand. I don't have experience with it, but raising children is difficult. And obviously there ends up being conflict and all this sorts of things. But anyway, I just wanted to lay that out there to begin with. So my question to you is, with raising children, if you had to give some advice to those of us who still have that ahead of us, what would it be? Besides, you don't know what you're getting into. Besides, you don't know what you're getting into. What would be your advice to people just diving into the parenthood thing?
Oh wow. uh well, I have it's a question to me. Like I think I've shaken some people's worlds. I think they think that I probably haven't done so great of a job, or maybe I've had too loose of a hand. I will right off the cuff. I'll say they're they're the individual part of each of our kids or whatever, and just their them being maybe authentic or whatever. I lay a lot at my wife's feet. I give her more credit than I do myself. Um, but I've went on a little bit of a journey with this whole child thing, and I would say that me and my wife have not agreed on a lot of things, and she's called me out on some things, and it's been good. Um, it's easy to, and one of those things is I've tried to get better in recent years is it's easy to operate from a standpoint of what do you want people to see, right? So you try to maybe you try to maybe dictate to your children behavior or dress or whatever with what makes you feel comfortable or with what you want people to, kind of the impression that you want to leave, rather than hey, love them for who they are. And yeah, there's going to be times that we're going to have to
They'll embarrass me.
they're going to embarrass me. They really are, and be okay with that. And I have not. There was a lot of years I didn't do well with that, and I don't know how well I'm still doing, but I think I've gained some ground there.
Yeah.
Because you boil that down. Often it's pretty important to boil down. Why do I want them to not wear this or do this or do this, and yeah, make sure it's coming from an authentic place, I guess. Because at the end of the day, yeah, there's some things that need probably corralled back a little bit or dialed in a little bit, but there's also some stuff that they learn by bumping some edges a little bit and saying, hey, and then saying, well, now we can have a discussion about it or whatever, rather than you make some hard, fast lines. And then it's like, I don't know what the result is, but I don't know if I have a lot of advice on that. I have often thought about
that deacon that passed away at Janiesport, he wasn't very old. I remember when I was in the youth, he would have had children about the same age from me and down. His oldest was about my age. And I remember some people thinking that he ran with a little bit of a loose hand on his children. They were the one for sure. The one boy was a little bit of a, not a rebel, but he kept him on his toes.
Yep.
And I never seen that man worked up or too distraught about it. And he kind of let them a little bit do their thing. And I want to tell you something. He had 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl, and they're all just fabulous people today. They all have married well, and they're doing very, very well. And on the flip side, we had a couple families that seemed to run a really tight rein on their children, and those children are a bit of a mess today. And I'm not saying that's a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Deal. It's not. Somewhere there's a balance.
So, okay. But
yeah, I can tell you one thing. I have learned more than I have taught. That's for sure. When it comes to child training, I have learned far more than I've taught.
So I've made this statement before, even on this podcast. No matter where you come from, the pursuit of wisdom is difficult.
Sure.
Now, I still think that to be true, but my question is, do you think? Well, but I also have this sense that there's something important about cultivating the children's individuality.
Sure.
Now, how do I marry those two together? I mean, if in the end the pursuit of wisdom is difficult, what does it matter how you raise your kids? Well, so I don't know. Can you help me marry those two together? I mean, there's no one size fits all, right? But if you have to err one way or the other, too loose or too tight, is one of them better than the other or not?
Well,
I don't want to be too analytical about this because
I know, and it's funny, like so I have often pondered that, but it's so difficult because you really don't see results of your work for years. Probably I don't know that there's anything super concrete in the now that, like, I don't know, like, yes, you could see the results of stuff to a point, but like there is so much about child raising that in the moment it's just chaotic and nothing's clear about where anything's going. And then after some years, you look back and you see the result of that, or you see a positive or a not so positive result. And then you can look at others and you can say, well, this is what worked for them. But then again, you just have no data on that family's everyday, day-to-day deal. And so I feel like I don't connect, or I haven't, even just my own children, even other children, I don't connect near as well with younger children as I do when they start getting. I absolutely love being around youth. I get great enjoyment.
Yep.
It's not a burden for me to be a youth leader at all.
Yep.
And I don't know if they connect with me or not, but and so even as my children have gotten older, it seems like it's been easier to connect to them. But I think the thing is like, yeah, with each of them being individually, if you have and that's where I have been too often, is if you have this idea is like, well, this is the way it has to be done. Well, maybe it works with this child, but then you get another child coming along, and in your mind, it's like, well, this is what works, and this is the way that I want it done, and it should be done. And then you hit a brick wall. And so I think part of that individualism of each child or whatever is maybe simply being willing to be flexible about whatever it is. Maybe it's a form of punishment. Maybe it's a form of just even the way that you communicate with them or connect with them or whatever. Because that's the bizarre thing about children, and I don't know if it's the Lord's humor or what it is, but it's like you can have the first one and you think you start figuring some things out on the first one, and he'll throw you a complete curveball on the second one. And from Ty to
our redhead, it's different. So
Oh man. So here, this is the thing that comes to me now. So, um, this guy who wrote this book, Primal Intelligence, which I don't know if it's down here, but anyway,
Sure.
he just made the comment that every day that your child goes to school, so basically every day that your child goes to being civilized, his individuality, his creativity, and his problem solving ability, which is a lot like creativity, diminish.
Really?
So, well, that's what his idea was. But here's the thing: some of that's necessary. Some of that is necessary in order to be civilized. Some of
Sure.
that dying, some of the chaotic has to be
Sure.
tamed. So it strikes me that it's hugely important. I mean, you said it's very chaotic, and this is what people say. But it strikes me that it's important if one makes a rule, or if you civilize the child, if there's a wall, be very careful about the wall, because when you build the wall, you have just destroyed part of your child. And is it the part that you want destroyed? I mean, obviously it's difficult, probably impossible in every situation to remember that.
Yeah.
But if from a 30,000-foot view, something about that makes sense. I don't know what you think about that. Does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah,
to you?
I can see some value in that, but I don't know. Like, to me, there's maybe, and you figure these things out
as you go.
It seems like too late in life. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, right.
Seems like after you're, it's like, well, if I had to do over now again, I think I'd have it down pat, and then it'd be another whole set of problems. But like, to me, I think it's crucially important. It's like, and I don't know if this is controversial to some people, or if it's not what some people like to hear, but I think it's true for me. I think it's pretty critical. The first step is, what's your view of God?
Ah. Yes. Interesting.
And that is going to directly transfer right into some of that relationship. And I think I'm probably still too spun out there, but I think I was for way too long. So
hold on.
if
Okay.
you so like, it's pretty easy to feel too bad or too I don't know if unworthy, but to come to God, right? So like, so that's why I just absolutely love Max Lucado. I think the guy has. I think the guy has. I think it's priceless what that man has figured out. If nothing else, his view and concept of God, I feel like, is just
incredible,
bullseye.
Incredible.
And so my point is I'm not to Max Lucado level by any means, but you cannot tell me that Max Lucado is going to have a bunch of fouled up children. And you're not going to also tell me that there's not a coincidence.
This is interesting. A lot of thoughts coming to me. So let me make sure I got this right. So you drew a parallel how I see my heavenly Father interprets to some degree the kind of father I will be to my children.
Well, I think so.
Yes.
I mean, I like I said, I've learned this too late, but I believe that.
So I recently I don't know if you were listening to it, but I recently gave this presentation, lightning talk at church. I don't know if it was lightning, but anyway,
I was there.
But the text I was given to read, was Jesus talking about, I love you as my heavenly Father loves me.
Yeah.
That sort of is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh man, that's actually powerful. I hadn't put that together till now. That, or maybe even more generally, the people that we are with. Well, I don't know, because I think there's something. Because he was very specifically talking to the people that he was in charge of, so to speak. Like if you're in any kind of leadership position,
sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I just think like too often, and I realize there's limits and boundaries to all of this, but I think too often there's a certain criteria that I have to meet before I can almost acknowledge God. And I over the last several years, it seems like I feel like I've got a long ways to go, but I feel like I'm starting to catch glimpses of God through Max Licado's eyes. And so we can't just be these completely wretched sinners that don't try. I get that. But I think we don't understand how broken we can be. And that's exactly what Jesus died for. That's exactly how he wants us to come to him. So then, can I say that my kids can be a bit of a mess, but I am exactly where they want to go when they don't know where to go? So if I'm comfortable, if I can recognize that, hey, I've got issues, but I have no fear going to my Heavenly Father about it.
Mm.
And I'm not going to
Yes.
receive any judgment. I'm not going to be condemned. I'm not going to be whatever.
He's not going to come to you with bias against you.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's there to help me reach whatever point he wants me to reach. If I can transfer 10% of that into child training, it's going to be helpful. And what that all looks like, I can't tell you that I
Yeah.
can spell it all out for you. But I think it's important.
I've talked about this before, but we seem to be in a place where a lot of full-grown men, all of us, are tempted with this idea, with self-hate, self-loathing. That fascinates me. Besides the devil, where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's the main
Is
place.
it
But
okay? Is it training? Is it
Well,
a consequence of the civilization that I talked about earlier, like with our children? Like, you're to what degree is that a consequence of the way we were raised and the way we are raising those coming after us?
well, that is a possibility. Definitely, I think. And I think so. Maybe I need to go at this in the reverse way. So I think for too long, and maybe I still sense it coming out in me. I can still see that tendency. Maybe the reverse way to say this is like, so yeah, I have a high standard for my children. Then there's a certain disappointment if they don't reach that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the opposite of what you feel from God if you can go there. So yeah, I think that is very true about maybe if we set the bar too high, like you don't want to set the bar low necessarily, but if I set the bar too high on myself or my children, and then they feel like they can't reach that mark, and I think that's what a lot of people feel with God. Whether it's teaching or whether it's the devil helping us or whether it's whatever the case is, we somewhat feel like God is unattainable. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I do think that,
or
right.
like we're almost, yeah. And so then that's not helping your self-loathing probably, but it's also not helping the child's self-worth if dad sets the bar too high or too ideal. Maybe too high is not the word, but too ideal, too idealistic. And not realizing that this whole thing is baby steps to an end result rather than here's my ideal bar and why aren't you there yet? Because if God did that to any of us, we're cooked.
Right. So do you think that this This is a crazy question. Do you think this existed before New Testament? Do you think this is a crazy thing to say? Is this partially is this a consequence of Christianity going awry? Now, I'm not blaming Christianity, but if
Right.
Christianity gets misconstrued, this is what it produces. I mean, okay. When you, it just seems to me the ancients, the people before, like and not everybody reads, so I whatever. But when I read the Old Testament, you read Socrates, you read Plato, you read Homer. These guys all existed before Jesus, right?
Mhm.
You don't get that feeling that they felt this way. They didn't deal with the self-loathing. I mean, they dealt with disappointments from the standpoint they found it extremely punishing, for example, when they didn't meet the expectations. Like in the ancient people put a lot more emphasis on things like blood was hugely important, dishonoring
Mhm.
your family name, and so they felt shame when they let down the family name, so to speak.
Mhm.
But I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they dealt with this self-loathing just like we do now. I really
Yeah, I
don't
don't
have a
know. I
sense
guess I've
about
never
that.
really thought about that.
I
That's
hadn't
an
either till now either. It's
interesting
just
point.
coming to
But
me now. Huh?
like, I don't know if it's self-loathing, but like Moses,
That's
Moses,
harsh.
Moses thought he was pretty inadequate.
That's fair.
You know, just from that angle. Like, I don't know how deep it was. You know how us humans are. Like, we tend to say things that to actually try to get praise, honor, and glory. Rather, like maybe he was like, oh, I can't do this. Just so somebody would tell him, oh, you definitely can. You're definitely the man for the job. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like he seemed like he felt fairly inadequate for
Yes.
like he wasn't worth much to lead the people. But um, so yeah, I don't know
Yeah. I
on
don't
the
either.
general populace. I don't know how that was.
Well, I mean, the only reason I'm going here is trying to see if I can drill down on how we got here, because I don't. It strikes me as not healthy. And
Yeah.
how do we how do we remedy it? And I know everybody has their different thoughts about how it's remedied, but anyway, yeah. So sort of on this subject, a couple of people have sat in that chair and talked about they've shared personal mottos or centering statements. A couple of examples are stay curious, not critical. Shannon talked about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one has been there are no absolutes. Chris talked about that sort of a centering statement for him. Remember, there aren't any absolutes, and it strikes me that these were some lines to remember when one finds oneself out of sorts with somebody or something. Do you have a place you sort of take your mind? Yeah, do you have a place you take your mind when you feel like you need to recenter your heart when you start getting upset about something or someone, or not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know how to answer that exactly. I do like I don't know if this answers your question, or I don't know if this is where you're coming from. I have felt for a while that, and this isn't no wise little statement, but if you have circumstances happen to you, and let's just use even relationships, whether it husband, wife, fellow brother, or whatever,
Yep.
The devil will build them cases. He'll help you. I have noticed that I have big cases built up with very few facts. That can happen very quickly and
Yeah.
very easily. And so one thing that I have often I've been trying to work on is just deal with more facts than feeling. There's an awful lot of feeling on a lot of different stuff. And feeling is usually it's not all invaluable or not all wrong,
Yep.
but often it seems like feeling is a little more surface and not as true as fact. And so you can get big cases or things in your mind or in your heart, and you just dial her way back, and you're like, well, where did this actually start? Or what's actually the fact?
Okay, interesting. So what? Okay, what is what role do feelings play?
Well, I think I don't. Man, you're getting in. You gotta get somebody way wiser than me sitting across the table from you for a lot of this stuff. But like, I mean, whatever. Feelings have a point. Like,
Yeah.
like if you're feeling upset and if you're feeling like your toes are stepped on, it's a real feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, where feelings start going array is that if I'm starting to act on those feelings, like the feeling may be 100% true, but it also wants to align itself sometimes a little bit with your good old flesh and just say, well, he did this on purpose. There's a reason he did this. There's a reason she did this. There's a reason this happened. Well, maybe not.
So
We're some bumbling humans, and so I felt something, but it doesn't mean that you meant to actually hurt me.
Oh yeah, right.
And that's where feelings get. You gotta fact check them a little bit.
So feelings are the things that indicate to us that we have been trespassed against. But
Well-
sometimes the feeling comes about even when we haven't necessarily been trespassed. It might have simply been a mistake. It might have been a miscommunication. But it might be that you were trespassed against. I mean, that's the thing, is like, even if you're trespassed against, it doesn't mean.
Yeah. Well, and like, I'm not even saying that the feeling's so much wrong, but like, for me, it's like, I don't know why. It seems like the last year or so, it's like on it can just be little menial stuff. It's like somebody sends you a message and it's worded something funny. Well, he's obviously
Upset at me.
something's going on here. And it's like, you just take that thing and you just run with it. And you kind of have this case built up and you realize you actually get to the bottom of this thing. It's like, there's nothing to it, or very little to it, but it's easy to take something and run with it.
Is there a
And so, well, I feel like I've done that a lot, even back to child training. Maybe feelings tie into some of that too. And like, well, I think I feel this, and I think I know this, and I think this is the way it is. But be willing to have a discussion and say, what is it actually like?
So just does just being aware of this stuff make a person more likely to catch it in real time? Like, obviously, like, ideally, when this when the feeling arises, we would know. When the feeling arises, we would immediately know. We'd be reflective about it. Okay, what is this feeling? This is a feeling. What is it meaning? And then we would sort of behave wisely. So what would you say? What is just simply being aware of this pushing us towards behaving more wisely?
Well,
Or is there
I think
something
it
it
can
needs to
help. Like,
implement?
so one thing to like is as much as like, here's the problem. It feels good to be a little bit worked up about it,
Oh,
right?
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
like, why not? Like, I mean, anytime we can have a, well, I mean, I don't know why we like conflict so well or what, like we try to create it, but like, if it's a bunch of turmoil and you're all worked up about something right then and there, it does not matter if it has truth or untruth in it. Shelve it.
Does conflict ever have a purpose? It's conflict. Can we have a tendency for this conflict, like you just talked about, or we have a tendency for, or I think some people have gone so far as to say humans love violence. Is there ever, that sounds harsh, I know, but is
Yeah.
there ever a value in that?
Well, I don't know. I would maybe. I don't know. Like sometimes, like I do think that there are people that respond to that differently. So I absolutely hate conflict. Well, I say that. I don't mind creating it though. Somehow, like you know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah.
not even intentionally, but
Yep.
like because of my selfishness. If I would have the wherewithal to look down the road and be like, I am possibly creating conflict here, and I absolutely hate conflict. But then I would say almost even my wife, for example, like if it's the choice of me just kind of brushing it under the rug or conflict, she wants conflict. Like she wants to hash it out. And I think there's people that way. And then if I think if there was conflict, I don't know how that is. That might be an upbringing thing too. If there was conflict, if there was a good bit of conflict in maybe in your home or between dad and son, maybe there's a real
Yeah.
tendency to avoid conflict. And if the alternative to conflict is to completely bottle and shove things down, that's not positive either.
No.
So, and why humans are the way they are, but it tends to seem like it's one or the other. It's hard to find that medium ground.
Well, but, I would love to know. I would love to know what Sylvia would say. Why she wants the conflict. I mean, like for me, so I understand the being prone to conflict. Like let's throw some sand around.
Yeah.
But my tendency is when there's a problem, let's have the conflict now so that we can get it over with.
Yeah.
Because I don't like conflict, and let's get it over with.
Yeah.
So there's that too, but there is also this sort of, I suppose, tendency to drama as well, like
Yeah.
making a big deal out of being hurt. I mean,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Like, I tend to think in an ideal world, like, if there's conflict between me and you, or if there's something brewing between me and you, I would love to think that, is it possible? Like, so you say you deal with it right away. And I just as a territory manager, I found that I'm not good with this. I really like to push fires off and somehow
Mhm.
think that it's going to get better. And I
Yeah.
have noticed that if I'm notified about a mad customer and I hang up from this phone call and I dial that customer's number immediately and deal with it, it's better.
yes,
But I like to think in a relationship, couple buddies,
oh
husband,
yeah,
wife, whatever, that there could be a point where we say, hey, this thing, I can get rid of self to the point that we can have just a civil conversation about this and it's constructive from both sides and we don't have to be at conflict with each other. We can address it, but we don't have to be at conflict with each other. And that seems like a very difficult place to reach. That middle ground that I'm talking
Well,
about seems like a very difficult place.
it is fascinating to me that we feel the need to, sort of, the knee jerk reaction is to avoid that which, if you and I have a difference in opinion about something,
Yep.
the knee jerk reaction is to avoid the person.
Yeah.
Or if even if it's a group of people, avoid said group of people.
Yep.
Like if it's, you got set of buddies, or God forbid it's a church group, something like that, or bigger,
Yep.
full blown. You just I think that might be where we are as a nation. One way you've got
Yeah.
huge
One
division.
one
So
one party
we
can't
feel
hardly
this need to
interact.
sort of separate, and it's interesting. I mean, because it strikes me that there's hugely important, or there's a lot of benefit in having a conversation and like, okay, look, we have a difference. Let me understand your position.
Yeah.
And even if we come to the end of it and I don't agree with you, I at least understand your position better. And even if we don't agree on something, we don't have to hate one another.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and so I don't know if this ties in, but I've been talking to a couple different other people about this thing, and I don't know what an ideal support group would look like, but I think maybe as a church and maybe just as I feel like even maybe as an individual, my family, maybe a church, maybe and definitely probably a nation at large, but like we don't do well with a support group. And what I mean by that is yeah, maybe differences. Somebody that's not performing like you think they should or like
Yep.
I think they should. What would it look like if it's just like, what can I do to actually help you?
Yep.
And let's take a difference between two of us buddies or husband, wife, anything. And like one of us or both of us are at odds with each other. It's like, what would it look like to say, what can I do? So I feel like you need to be over here. And what could I do to actually help you get there?
Right.
And vice versa. I feel like you could come here further this direction a little bit. And what could I do to make
Yeah.
that an easier transition for you? And like, that's hard to do. Or like
Yes.
just a support group in general. Like, yeah, just we, like you said, the first thing that wants to happen is we want to just avoid each other. Well, iron sharpeneth iron. Like we don't want to be, why is that so hard? Like,
Right.
we
I mean,
just don't want to deal with it.
I mean, I genuinely believe there's a way
We all
of
turn
being.
into dull knives.
Yeah. I genuinely believe there's a way of being that where one actually looks forward to this seems crazy, looks forward to the opportunity for difference. I mean, because if you address those situations properly, you both learn.
Yep.
But I do think that's a lost art. I mean,
Or well on its way.
when religion fails, this is or it seems like when a religion stagnates, or when a group stagnates, this is one of the first things to go. If you can't resolve differences, that's where it all starts, is the inability to resolve differences. And so, I think that's what I'm aiming at, is trying to understand that lost art of communicating in the midst of differences. I think.
Well, and if you want to just jump back to even child training, I think I've said this, I believe this on pretty much all fronts. I've said this about staff.
Church leadership.
Church leadership.
Gotcha.
You want spectrum on that rostrum. You want differences.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want them both leaning this way, both leaning that way. Ideally, in a home, even when you're talking about child training,
it raises another set of problems, but it is good if husband and wife don't view child training necessarily the same way. I think it makes your kids more authentic.
Okay, this is interesting. You brought.
But
Oh,
you
yeah.
but you have to be able to somehow meet in the middle on those things. So it raises a challenge. No matter what situation you're in. I don't care if it's a school board. You need the spectrum, but you have to be able to somehow work with each other's gifts and views.
Is it too crazy to say? Okay, how would I say this? If a question arises, maybe even a bigger, more social problem arises, and you say, I wonder what Jordan thinks of this, what his thoughts would be on this. And if you can predict what I'll say and answer that question, that's not good. Is that too strong of a statement?
No.
You talked about church leadership. One needs to lean one way and one needs to lean the other. And I'm like,
I don't know if there has to be any drastic leaning, but like I'm just saying
there needs
there needs to be a it's not a I don't know. I'm kind of a stickler for that I don't think it's healthy to have very similar viewpoints. I understand it opens up another set of problems.
Yeah.
If humility is not present, it opens up another whole can of worms. And it has many times.
So if leadership has difference of opinion and they have to resolve it, it makes good leadership.
Yeah.
Now that I can. No, yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I mean, that can go for leadership and anything. Well,
that's right.
So you're talking about being a salesman. So we're back to managing differences of opinion or views on things. So that's sort of what a salesman does is he tries to bring. I mean, when you got a person wants to buy a barn, you're trying to bring their view that you have a solution to that what their problem. I mean, in one way.
Yeah.
So are these similar?
Yeah,
Are these the same thing? If you became good at, so this is a crazy statement. I hadn't thought about this. If you become a good salesman, does it translate straight over to being able to negotiate differences in social relationships?
Well, possibly, but there are slimy salesmen. All right, so so you gotta so. You know, I would hope that I have more empathy or more understanding to a closer friend or spouse than I do the average Joe Blow I'm trying to sell something to.
Well,
Does that make sense?
I am unbelievably sensitive to manipulation.
Sure. Yeah.
So if I, that's the thing is like if I'm cynical about salesmen, is that I don't know am I just learning? Okay, you're learning to be a salesman. Are you just learning to be manipulative? I mean, I'm not pointing at you. I'm just saying that's
no.
what. So there's a fine line between, because if we want to resolve this difference.
Yep.
I think I'm right.
Yep.
Because I think that I have been manipulative without trying to be manipulative.
Sure.
It wasn't conscious. But I imagine you can probably relate with this. I imagine anybody can relate with this, and that is that you use all tools available to you sometimes when you're trying to make someone see your point of view. Yeah. It's like, well, that ain't particularly helpful either all the time. Anyway, we're getting off in the weeds here.
Well, so I would say the one thing that is absolutely true for trying to maybe resolve an issue or to be the in my opinion, and I'm not a top salesman, but the most critical thing is genuine. To be genuine,
Just be real.
just be real, and that transfers to both places.
I think that's very true.
So if you try to use whatever tactics you want and then try to add realness or do anything, versus actually just being real, there's very few other things that you have to add to that to be a good salesman. Somehow, something about that, when people walk in, that the other critical thing is that you're comfortable with yourself, and that we could
No,
we
that's
could,
a
we could,
whole.
we
another
could take
can
a
of
dive
worms.
on that, but I don't know if we got the time. But
Yeah.
but if you're not comfortable with yourself, you are not going to make a salesman. I don't care what you're selling. So if you're okay with yourself and you're genuine, and genuine means like, I don't know, I'm actually trying to sell you this product and I'm not even sure I know the answer to that question. That's genuine. You don't have to know.
So just be willing to say I don't know.
That's right.
Well, listen, that's been one of my things. Humility. I do think humility is a big word, but
I don't know
being
much
willing
about
to
it.
say I don't know and let me understand your position is hugely powerful.
Yeah.
10-4. Well, look, it's been fantastic talking to you again. Is there anything else you feel like it's important to that you had burning a hole that you want
No.
to share yet?
You can ponder something that I've just got hit with the last couple of days, and we don't have to discuss it here. You can get back to me some other time, but it's intriguing. There's a guy that I listen to some. I really like him. You're talking about humility. I sense a lot of humility in him. He's a pastor somewhere. He's got videos. I watch him some. But he said the other day, he's like, you got to quit thinking about what God called you from and figure out what he called you for. And I don't know what's in that, but it's probably deeper than what my mind has got to yet. I think his thought was a lot of people hang up with maybe their past or their all the crud that God called them from, and they're completely missing their purpose or the reason he saved you. He didn't just save you to save you.
I had a conversation with Jay about this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I unfortunately don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it up right now. It's in the last conversation I had with Jay. We talked a little bit about this, but it's a very good question.
So there's a lot of us that are wondering what our purpose is. Maybe there's a key in that statement that somehow we can find.
It's hard to there's a part. Do you find yourself to be afraid of knowing what your purpose is?
I don't think so.
I mean, because if you know what your purpose is, you've just defined success. If you've defined success, you have just defined failure.
Like I struggle. I would struggle way more with not thinking or not knowing for sure exactly what my purpose is. That would bother me more than fearing what if I knew what my purpose was.
But yes, but most people are there.
What?
Most people don't know what. I mean, and I'll raise my hand.
Yeah.
What are your gifts? That's what are your interests? What are your gifts? That is half of the question. And the other half might be, and how do you use them to serve humankind? And this, this is the conversation I had with Jay. Are we afraid of it, or do we just simply not have the tools for it? Like, is this also one of the lost arts I talked about? I don't know. These are This is a fantastic question, and I have even been thinking about it, and I will continue to do more, and we'll have to maybe talk about it later when we both get more inspiration on it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike, for talking
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
been great.